Mayor, would you want me to go through the agenda first and then we'll get into the DOT project, or how would you like that handled tonight?
Well, the only reason we're in here is to give everyone a chance to see it blown up. And I appreciate everybody coming in here tonight. And it's very Christmassy in here too, so that's
Great job.
so that would be fine with me. I'm sure the representatives from MoDOT, Chris, Tom, that good. We'll wait till the end and let you go.
So you just want to do the agenda? Okay. The first item on the agenda is ordinance number 96-2013, an ordinance changing the pay grade of the assistant building commissioner from pay grade 9 to pay grade 11, and amending ordinance 47-2012. We can do a third reading on that.
Okay, Mr. Martin, Mr. Engel said that he would like to hold that second being on finance until next year. He wants to see what our finances and the appropriations and so forth. So he does not want to proceed further with that. He wants us to hold it at second. When he raises going forward to next week. So I told him that I would try to see us going.
Well, I'm just going to do a third reading on it. If you folks want to introduce it next year, you're certainly welcome to. But I'll go ahead and introduce that. Ordinance number 97-2013, an ordinance amending ordinance number 42-2013 with regards to the pay grade for the position of full-time administrative assistant of the Macedonia Service Department. I'm going to do a third reading on that.
Again, he would like that to be held as second reading as well.
Ordinance number 99-2013, an emergency ordinance amending the codified ordinance section 1171.15B to allow a storage barn as a non-residential use in a residential district. My question is about this ordinance, why do we even need it at all? The problem that this ordinance was actually originated for has been resolved, as I understand it.
Almost. If you want to just leave it on the agenda, that's fine. We're, when I see Dan, we're waiting for him to come in and make an appointment to appear before the BIC.
Well, I'd rather do a third reading on this and just have people vote on it. I'm opposed to this simply because what it does is it allows people to build storage barns in residential areas. And I will introduce this on a third reading. Ordinance number 122-2013, an ordinance confirming the appointment by the mayor of Christopher Holmes to the position of full-time police officer. Shane, could you handle that?
Sure. Is he going to be here tonight, Chief?
He's supposed to work tonight. He's going to try to make it, yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Ordinance number 123-2013, an emergency ordinance giving consent to the Ohio Director of Transportation to complete the realignment, relocation of Interstate Route 271 northbound ramp, and further authorizing participation in the project. Mr. Mayor, you want to address that, please?
Well, if we can, maybe at the end we'll let Chris and Tom explain the merits of this particular program, and maybe then you can decide what you want to do with reading after you hear what they have to say as far as what this will accomplish, what our timeline is.
I'm aware that on January 7th, there's going to be a meeting here with ODOT for the public and for council from 5 to 7, and I have been telling residents about it to come and speak on their behalf, and I am asking that this be held at first reading.
We'll hear from the DOT. I'll take it.
Yeah, I think it's, once we hear from them, I'm not sure. We need to hear from them.
Sure, we need to hear from them.
Ordinance number 124-2013, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to make an application and enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, State Infrastructure Bank, SID for a line of credit for the improvement project known as Sum IR 271-12.65 PAD 97084, and authorizing the execution of all documents necessary to effectuate the same, and declaring an emergency. That's another issue with the DOT. Just hold that in abeyance until I hear their presentation. Ordinance number, pardon? Yeah. Ordinance number 125-2013, an ordinance amending and supplementing the 2013 annual appropriations ordinance number 21-2013. Scott.
Yes, sir. This ordinance we need for fire personnel. We had a bump this year, an increase in part-time salaries due to we put a, I believe, fifth man on. We never addressed the additional funding, and so we have a shortfall between that and the pension payouts. To make it to the end of the year, I'm requesting another $100,000 to be appropriated. The street lighting operating, that's a couple accidents that we had. Each pole that gets hit by a motorist and leaves Ohio Edison charges us roughly $2,808 to replace. We've had, and if we catch the motorist, we'll get that money back through the court. But unfortunately this year, and also it still would have to be reappropriated. But also this year we've got two additional ones just happened in November and October that we need to get repaired. This could be waited to the next budget. We got the bill for it. We'll have to try to process it. The mayor's court state fees. That's money that comes in because of the volume of court cases this year. They get a cut of all our court cases, so this is really additional money that we have to funnel back down to the state. It's more pass-through revenue. The legal fees, we didn't have enough budgeted in the contract labor, contract harsh portion of the legal fees. Right now, as I end December, I got about $800, I believe. So in anticipation of December bills that come in, requesting $8,000. And then the last item was because we didn't fill a dispatch spot this year in personnel, which we're trying to. We have a little bit of surplus there, and we've had an ongoing dispatch software and hardware upgrade that we've been wanting to do. And in the 911 fund, there's about $30-something thousand. So Chief Golden and Son is requesting that we try to get this project started at the end of this year, move that $35,000 in personnel to operations and for capital this project, and $15,000 come out of the 911 fund. And they can upgrade our system to receive 800 calls. What else, Chief? People not there. So anyway, it's an enhancement of the system that we're eventually going to have to do anyway.
Okay, how about 126 here? Are you going to comment on ordinance number 126, 2013?
Oh, sorry. The temporary appropriations, it's merely continuing of the current ones. This is something that we have to pass so we can pay bills in January. When the January budget or December budget's closed, I'm sure we'll have some financial meetings to get our full permanent budget passed. So this is merely a continuation of 3 months of expense that I anticipate. Hopefully we'll get the permanent budget passed by maybe at the end of February, but we have a March 31st deadline.
Hey, could you handle ordinances number 125 and 126, please?
Same rates that we have
First,
right now.
second, third reading on both 125 and 126. Ordinance number 127-2013, an ordinance establishing the pay range schedule of compensation for City of Macedonia employees effective January 1st, 2014. Mr. Mayor?
Is Betsy here? Hi, Betsy. Could you come down, please? Betsy has put these together, these ordinances for me to submit. The first one here.
The ordinance reflects a 2% our wage change effective January 1st, 2014, and then a 2% effective January 1st, 2015.
And for which union?
The pay ordinance affects non-bargaining unit. We've settled negotiations with our 5 unions, and that is consistent with the base change increases that are in those contracts.
Yeah, the 2% across the board was different. My iPad, I had to read it horizontally. By the time I turned it, it returned, so I kept going in circles. But so it's, the CBA is 2%. I saw some figures in there, the percentage is 2%.
The bases are 2%, and then it's 2% for the non-hard employees. And then we adjusted the other rates that are within that pay ordinance correspondingly to 2% each of those years. There's some rates for your part-time firefighters, some rates they receive for paramedic pay, different levels of credentials that they have.
Things like negotiated with the union stops off, right?
The bargaining agreements were negotiated for 5%.
Fifty non-union full and part-time employees that would be covered under that agreement. And it would cost the city approximately $31,241 in the first year.
And it's consistent with past practice when the unions have been settled. My understanding.
Well, the problem with past practices is where they have 4% of all. I don't know, so it's a little.
That's why you're not.
Projections, Scott,
Obviously, we are going to be in a revenue crunch for that period, and, the economy has been rebounding in the last 2 or 3 years, even with that increase, and, it's a concern, there's definitely, but again, it becomes parity with other unions, and
the problem with the CBAs is if you don't say yes or no in 30 days,
exactly.
so if you don't take action tonight, they're going to affect it.
Yeah, but the new council takes 40 on the 9th.
They're not, I know, that's more than 30 days.
Shane, if I may, Scott, unencumbered balance.
$2.8 million in general fund, plus $500,000 in emergency and $500,000 in retirement.
So that's 3.8.
It's just a matter of anytime you're gonna spend, there's gonna be a shortfall somewhere else.
I just feel uncomfortable going into the new year without, appropriating money and just talking about this
But
one
whether we
more time.
take action on the CBAs or not, when were they signed by the administration?
Some were assigned as, well, they have been,
The unions have all agreed to that.
So 30 days from that point,
Please said we voted at the end of last week.
And going into the new year, we can always do second and third on the 9th if the new council feels comfortable with that.
what's the date, Scott? It's 30 days. Where's that date out?
some of
January
them, some of
3rd,
them
4th?
barely meet that, it's so close to that next council meeting, I would say that you have to
These
have
probably
an
will.
emergency council meeting before the 12th, which is the first schedule in January. And then we do have a wage reopener third year, they get a 2-2 wage reopener if things are extreme south and they get a 0 on that third year, then you're looking at a 1.3% increase over the 3 years, which I think is highly palatable. Compared to, if we were in negotiations, and again, you know how they go, 4-3, whatever you get 2. But I'm looking at if we hired an outside legal firm to come in, and you know how that goes too, you end up spending $50,000, $60,000 when sometimes the contracts are around to, sergeant union contract for the first year is going to cost us $6,900, and the dispatch union $4,600, and the fire union $14,000. So those are the options that you weigh when you go in there.
Right, and that was my question. So could you give me it's 30 days, can you give me the exact dates in the next 15, 20 minutes? Possibly, I know it's, I just want to see if there's anything become due before the January 9th meeting.
These are not significant amounts of money,
First council.
in my opinion. I mean, I always like to use the word de minimis, and they are. Shane, why don't you do this on a 1, 2, 3 reading, and whether it passes or not, the whole thing is about it that the new council or the 2014 fiscal year, they'll be able to take a look at it and they can draft an ordinance. So Shane, why don't you do this 1, 2, 3?
The 127?
Yes, 128. And you're quite well acquainted with this, so you can do 1, 2, 3 here. Ordinance number 129-2013, an emergency ordinance ratifying a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Macedonia and Teamsters Local Union 436 Service Department for a 3-year term effective January 1, 2014 to December 31st, 2016. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I agree.
All right, this is basically, all of these contracts were negotiated in good faith, and I'm very proud of my team that's gone through these contracts and established them, because If everybody walks away from contract negotiations a little bit disappointed, it's a win-win. And I think that's just how it went. There was a lot of time and effort put into this by Betsy and by Scott, and coming up with these figures across the board is going to be something that we have to remember is there was a long time there that some of these people were never getting any raises. And now we're barely not even caught up to what was happening in other communities, but ours are still below. So I'd like to bring that point up. As we go up by 2%, we're still playing catch-up to where the other communities are.
Well, I mean, I don't think police and fire pay enough as it is, that's not a problem. I just think that there are some things that are changing here from the first year. I don't want to just throw it off on
Thank you,
my predecessor.
thank you, Shane.
Well, just not make a decision, I'm just make it out loud here.
All right, well, we need, I kind of got lost there on 127. Who was going to introduce 127? Shane. Okay, and 127.
Now we're at 129.
My sheets are off. I have to go back.
129, Kevin's got the search department one.
That's Nick. You want to do first, second, third on that, Nick? And then on ordinance number 130, Shane, will you do 1, 2, 3 on that? And Shane, will you do 1, 2, 3 on 131? Ordinance number 132-2013. Shane, could you do 1, 2, 3 on that? And then we have ordinance number 133-2013, an emergency ordinance amending codified ordinance number 161.19 regarding longevity benefits for non-contract and eligible Macedonia employees. Mr. Mayor or Scott, who would like to give the explanation for this, please?
This was a longevity schedule that, to be parity with the union. Everyone had different each year of service. And so to make it fair to the non-bargaining units, this is going to cost us, because some employees will get zero. Some employees, they can get as much as $200 under this new schedule for 1 year, or they can get as little as zero for the next year. So everything totaled out, 15 employees, about $4,800. That comes out to $68.57 on the average.
How many employees are we adding to this benefit of longevity?
There won't be added, there's always been a level of service that if you get 3 years, you got.
Okay, so non-bargaining and any full-time
Well,
employee.
non-bargaining has always had it, and it's just been a mixture of each contract at a different rate. And we tried, and so when we went into this year's negotiations, we tried to get everyone to be on the same page, to be fair, even non-union ones and union ones to this schedule.
Rita, why don't you do 1, 2, 3 on that, please?
I'm not.
And that's
I'm
ordinance
only
number
doing for- All these
133.
emergencies, ordinances, I'm only doing first reading. So, just so you know, I'm not doing very short.
I'll take this and do 3 readings on it then. Ordinance number 133, Ken will do it. Ordinance number 134-2013, an emergency ordinance amending codified ordinance number 161.2R regarding health care benefits for non-contract Macedonian employees. Scott?
That's the contract that we've been talking about with Summit County. The formula, the rates are the same, in fact, they're a little bit less. The employees in these union contracts, instead of 5%, we'll pick up 10%. We have a wellness program that's been initiated this year. And so that before we had a cap, that the employees would be capped at $75 per pay. And one of the bargaining things on all these contracts coming in, we insisted that we lift that cap. So if they participate in the wellness program, they have a chance to reduce their share if they hit the wellness marks by 5%. But even if our rates go up now in the future, there is no $75 cap. So they're responsible for the full 10% of the premium.
This is the, we're basically joining some account.
Yes.
With their health program. Okay, Rita, why don't you do 1, 2, 3 on this, please?
This is not an increase in the budget,
I
this is for healthcare.
understand, I
It's not a
understand.
budgetary impact.
If we don't have this passed tonight, we don't have help.
For our employees.
No budgetary
I'll
impact.
go ahead and I'll handle this one. Ordinance number 135-2013, an emergency ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Delta Dental Insurance for dental benefits for eligible Macedonia employees for the year 2014. I'll do 1, 2, 3 on that. Ordinance number 136-2013, an ordinance renewing the EAP contract with Tri-County Employee Assistance Program for the year 2014. Mr. Mayor?
Well, this one, Betsy is our expert, so I'm going to defer to her.
This is just a renewal of our current contract with Tri-County. Tri-County offers counseling to employees for various services. They also come in and do all of our drug-free training workplace that's required by the Bureau of Workers' Compensation. We receive a sizable discount from the Bureau in exchange for having a drug-free workplace, and that training is required. And it's very reasonable. I think the total cost is $4,400.
I think it's $4,200 a year.
$4,200 a year.
Nick, could you do this one, please? Sure. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Ordinance number 137-2013, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Summit County Public Defenders Commission for the representation of indigent persons charged with violations of the codified ordinance of the City of Macedonia. This is merely an ordinance that allows indigent or persons without money to afford an attorney to be provided public assistance. We do this every year. I'll do this one, and I'll do 1, 2, 3 on that. Ordinance number 138-2013, a resolution confirming the reappointment by the mayor of Jennifer Molnar to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Rita, would you like to do 1, 2, 3 on that, please? Yes. Okay. And resolution number 139-2013.
I want to do that.
Pardon?
I want to do that.
A resolution, oh, Mr. Miller, I didn't even know you were here.
Why?
Shane was hiding. Resolution.
Who you're zoning there.
Okay.
I'm going to do that.
I don't think I was insulting anyone. You could comment upon my poor eyesight. At any rate, resolution number 139-2013, a resolution of support and participation in the Brandywine Creek Watershed Balance Growth Plan. Mr. Miller, you can do 1, 2, 3 on that. I'm sorry for not noticing you back there.
I'm used to it, that's okay.
Resolution number 140-2013, a resolution objecting to the implementation of the LEADS program by the Cleveland Division of Water, demanding accountability for current billing practices. Nick, would you like to do 1, 2, 3? And there'll be a motion canceling regular meetings of council on Thursday, December 26th, in observance of Christmas week. And Mr. Miller, would you like to do that, please?
My pleasure.
And the time is 7 o'clock, which I plan to finish at, and we can turn this over to you, Mr. Miller. You can introduce our guests.
Good job. With us tonight, we have 2 people that met with me and my staff. All of this has transpired in a very short period. I would like to thank Tom Powell and Chris, let me have your last name again. Huff. Chris Huff, for coming out tonight on such a bad winter's night and to come here to help council understand the concept, the merits, the time periods on this project. So whichever one would like to start, we do have a microphone there and appreciate it if you talk into that.
Good evening, I'm Tom Powell. I am the District Design Engineer in District 4 of ODOT. down in Akron. And I am the project manager for the third lane addition on Interstate 271, which goes approximately 1,000 feet south of State Route 82 to about 3,000 feet short of the Cuyahoga County line. We're going to be adding a third lane onto that interstate. And
Mr. Howell?
Howell.
Howell? Yeah, where's that area in Macedonia? I've never noticed that there with the rocks and the water.
I have not seen that area myself either.
I was going to say the DOT perhaps would want to think about turning that into a recreational spot.
Yes, I would like to go there myself.
Computers are great, aren't they?
So, in addition to the third lane on 271, in the process of doing that, we also need to replace some bridges. The bridges over 82 and the bridges over Norfolk Southern Railroad, Ledge Road, and North and South Freeway Drive need to get replaced in the process of this project. Hopefully we get our aerial up.
Did you say Ledge Road?
Yes. There is also, our district is District 4. We encompass Summit County. Cuyahoga County is District 12. And ODOT District 12 has a project coming that is going to be expanding 271 and the 480 overlap, which is going to start in Summit County and proceed north. And our project is stopping where there's a starting. On the project that we're here to talk about tonight, actually it's all the same project. The realignment of the 82 northbound ramp from 271 and moving that ramp over to Freeway Drive will be done all in the same project. The third lane widening project is already set to sell, which means that the bids will be open for that project on May 8th.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is hold one up and pass them out. Yeah, okay.
Did you say you're bidding out that ramp enhancement in May?
No, the project that we are currently scoped and have out for bidding on May 8th is only the third lane widening, plus the bridge work. What we'd like to do is include the ramp realignment and improvements along State Route 82 with that project. But we need to get concurrence from the city to do the work and also require the right-of-way required for that work and to go ahead and obtain that right-of-way. ODOT, through the turnpike funding, is going to pay for all of the construction costs associated with the realignment of the ramp plus the improvements on State Route 82. I can go over quickly what the improvements are. As you can see, and I think everybody's probably seen, this was in the newspaper actually this week, the realignment of the ramp coming off of Freeway Drive, and it'll go north onto the existing ramp, removal of the ramp, the existing ramp, down to State Route 82. All that pavement will be removed. We will improve Freeway Drive from 82 north, and we're going to put in concrete pavement, curb and gutter. And we're also going to improve State Route 82 from the southbound exit ramp over to the railroad bridge. And we'll put 6 lanes of traffic through there. We'll have 2 through lanes in each direction, plus 1 left turn lane in each direction. And our original thoughts were not to do anything on State Route 82, but when we got our traffic studies performed, it was determined that we did not do that work on State Route 82 within about 4 to 5 years. State Route 82 would be at a level of service which is not acceptable.
The land that we're going to purchase, I'm very sensitive to the use of eminent domain. As Mr. Joseph Dudas here. Looks like we're gonna decimate his entire property.
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's pretty, so, I mean, what is that there? What's there right now? Is it a
The old
building?
house is there where the Chamber of Commerce is. We have offered the Chamber of Commerce use of an office. I was informed today that office might not be big enough. We have to find them some storage space. So as I was just notified today, we're going to be looking if we can make that happen for them. There are, I think, 2 other tenants there. Chris's expertise is real estate. So Chris, is that basically right, how we're going to be going? It'll be taking that building right out, that old house.
There's no other choice with the alignment of that ramp, the way it's going there, and the size of that parcel, which would require the total take construction. The law requires that you pay them relocation benefits, so through the cities.
It's still a massive use of eminent domain. I mean, if it's something that we absolutely positively have to do for the safety of the citizens of Macedonia, or can we, is there,
I think Tom has looked at other alternatives.
We looked at a couple other alternatives, such as moving the ramp north of their parcel so that it would not impact that parcel. But in order to do that, or we really can't do that because the turning movements to come south on Freeway Drive to get turned around to go back north onto, the turning movements, if you're coming down the Freeway Drive south and make this around, if we move that further north,
makes it tighter?
the angle makes it pretty much impossible to do.
Well, let me ask you this. You can get on 271 north by heading south on Route 8, just a couple hundred yards. Do we absolutely positively need the on-ramp here?
In addition, whenever we line up intersections, we try to line them up so that they're at a perpendicular and not at an oblique angle or an acute angle. So by moving this ramp further north, our angle's not going to work out very well there, and our turning movements are not going to work very well.
No, I think I misstated it wrong. If we close the ramp permanently that's there currently, like we did with the one that was just south of 271, that one was closed a couple years ago when the widening came through.
Yes.
And we didn't build that. Can we just go with the one that's currently south of 271 that takes you back around?
I'm not a traffic engineer.
May I, Tom?
Sure.
Can I help a little bit? First of all here, Shane,
Yes, sir.
eminent domain. If we take property by eminent domain, it's a lengthy process. Joe, if perhaps you can back me up on this, we're not doing this eminent domain where we're taking that property away. We hope to work with the people there and work out a settlement that will not only be satisfying them as far as the money they receive, but help them to relocate.
And I get that there's all those safety things in there, but what if they don't want to move? Do we know this?
Well, what we're talking about here is a traffic study that was performed by Kevin Westbrooks, who's present here tonight. Kevin Westbrooks did a study, and in the last paragraph of that study, I don't have it in front of me, but can you condense what you had in that last paragraph about Speedway?
Yes. Essentially, the study, we said, closing the ramp is needed from a safety standpoint, from a capacity moving traffic on 82. If you don't relocate, put something else on Freeway Drive, kind of similar to what you've got today, which is people are using Speedway to turn around. You've got some traffic backups in various places, and as traffic increases, you're going to have longer backups, getting down to the Commons, coming off the Commons to get onto Route 8, down by McDonald's, where this option clears it up. I think as you move to the future without this additional ramp, and you don't have the left turn getting on there, you're going to have some issues. That's why I think this is needed to move to full traffic. Our hope was that the ramp down there to the south of Bob Evans, people would use it and it wouldn't cause any problems, and that's where everybody's going to go. But people are not all going that way, and if they did, and as traffic goes in the future, you're gonna have some queues and some backups that are gonna cause some real issues around town. Yeah, so I think that's, what you're asking is, do we really need to put this in here? And my thought is
Because,
yes.
you know, as we know, government is force. They have no choice but to move, whether it takes a year, 2 years, they're forcibly gonna be moved from that property. I'm just very sensitive to using that authority that's given to us by the Constitution. I think it's something very delicate to tread on.
All right, if I may,
Yes.
I've been informed that the people that own the property are here tonight. Would you like to speak to this? Do you have any problems with us doing this if you're treated fairly?
No, I don't believe that we do. In fact, the property is for sale, it was for sale, and we had an offer which was withdrawn because that article appeared in the paper actually the next day after we got the offer. Our concern is, our tenant has been offered space in another place. We were not informed of this. We are wondering how long this is going to take. If our tenants all move out, that takes our income in that building. I'm sure we'll still have to pay taxes on it. That's our main concern right now. We want to, as far as we're concerned, the property's for sale, the property.
So you were gonna be getting rid of the property? If we wouldn't have put it in the paper, it might be gone right now.
That's exactly right.
All right, so as far as the free space for your tenants, that offer was made at the request of ODOT, just so these people wouldn't be left out there sitting at desks with no house.
But I feel that the owners should have been notified. If
Well,
they're going to offer our tenants
This is all
property.
preliminary, and I
Right.
apologize.
I understand that, and
Yeah.
I'm just stating our concern.
Sure.
That's our concern.
All right, so you don't have a problem if we get, I'm sorry, Joe.
Yeah, rental reimbursements would be part of any settlement, so you as a property owner.
We have no problem with them taking the property.
All that would be worked out as part of the purchase.
So that our main concern was.
Well, that lies a lot of my fears with this then. Thank you for that.
And our goal, if this proceeds the way I hope it proceeds, was to have the right-of-way acquired by July 1st. That's what we discussed at our meeting with the mayor a few weeks ago. In addition, you mentioned right-of-way, so I'll talk about right-of-way a little bit. In addition to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in addition to the total take on this parcel right here, we'll have a little bit of real estate taken from the next parcel, which is owned by Frank
The niggers.
right here to take on the back of that parcel. And there's going to be a little bit of strip on the parcel here and in front of the speedway, both on Freeway Drive and on 82. There will be, we don't anticipate any right-of-way taken in front of this parcel in this building, maybe a little bit up in here. Down here with this parcel on the corner, because we have to improve this radius for truck turning, we're going to be taking a little bit from this corner here. There's a driveway right here we're going to close, and they will have access through the driveway in the back. And as part of that, there'll be reconfiguration of their parking as part of the real estate agreements. And this driveway back here is going to be an in only. There'll be a little bit of right-of-way taken in front of this parcel, just for some relocation of some utilities. There's a power lines that run straight down on the south side of this road that need to get pushed back a little bit. Now I want to talk about 82 a little bit. Like I mentioned before, we had the slide up here. 82 would be improved from basically Summer Road over to the railroad grade separation. We were going to put 6 lanes of traffic in. Currently there's 5. The bridges over 82, regardless of if we do this improvement, are going to be wide enough or long enough to handle 6 lanes of traffic. We had already determined that several months ago, that we decided we wanted to put enough room and have the piers far enough back that we could get 6 lanes through here, because we anticipated the city would probably need to add another lane on 82 at some point in time. And it's a lot easier to do the bridges when you're reconstructing them than try to come in later and do it. So we were going to provide, I think it's 83 feet face-to-face of the piers, which is enough room to get the 6 lanes through. This turning lane going into the commons will extend from here all the way back through the intersection with Freeway Drive in North Bedford and start about right here. Our calculations show that you need about 700 feet of storage on that movement. Anybody who lives in the area can attest to that, because this gets all backed up and choked up all the time. So you know you need a little more storage space in there. There's going to be also another turning lane added, or continued, there's one there right now, but to get onto North Bedford. This turning lane to go north onto Freeway Drive will start back here at the Commons and proceed up. There'll be, again, turning lanes coming south, and then this leg of the intersection is not really altered very much.
So it's a lot more than just the ramp, it sounds like.
Yes, and what happened is whenever we shook the numbers out, and we looked at basically only improving from this point north, this whole section of State Route 82 just failed within about 4 to 5 years. with our
So
traffic
this is
numbers.
all being done so that the commons get more traffic through?
No, it's being done so that you can get traffic through the entire area.
Trying to get more through, yes.
We're just trying to get more traffic through this area. Right now, it's a big clog. I live in the area, I drive through here all the time.
I live in the area too, and I don't see the need for any of this.
I'm sorry, we're not taking public comments. You're welcome to sign in at the sheet, and we want to keep moving along. We had a lot today.
Other
So,
people were making comments, I can?
yes, we asked for those, okay? So if you please, you're welcome to make public comments when the meeting starts, all right? As your pro or con. And if you please sign in at the sign-in sheet at the door, because we only take comments from those people who sign in.
Mayor, do you stand to financially gain from this project? Or anybody you know? Seriously, this makes no sense.
So you can sign in.
If I may, I'd like to point to this area where we have delineated. One of the ugly places in town, as some people feel, is the fact that we have delineators right as people are coming in and out of Macedonia. With this widening and us making an adjustment to the speedway driveway, where it'll be right in, right out only, there will be no more delineators. Just so you're aware.
I do have just another question. I'm sure you can understand that we're going to have a big changeover council with 3 members are leaving, so I think that's probably the biggest we've seen, I'm assuming. Does this decision have to be made? What's the time scale on this, timeframe?
The mayor and, actually, who else was on the phone call? There was a conference call between the mayor and some executives in ODOT district office, or central office in Columbus. And during that phone call, it's determined that if this is not passed in December, we're not sure what the timetable is going to be, or if we can even get the work done.
When would you figure it would be done if it's passed?
If it's passed, we have to proceed to get environmental clearance through the National Environmental Protection Act, or the NEPA process. And the problem we're getting into is that this project is funded from Ohio Turnpike money. That money is committed to be spent and open for bids in May, before the end of the fiscal year. This improvement here was going to be included with that Turnpike money. The Turnpike money will not cover any right-of-way acquisition. That's why we came to the city and asked the city to participate with the right-of-way and obtain the right-of-way needed for the project.
So
With the
at this
timetable.
time next year, Tom, you think we could be using the new ramp?
If we get it passed this evening, and if the city moves forward with the right-of-way acquisition. Like we talked about a little bit ago, we were hoping to have all the right-of-way acquired by about July 1st. We can get all the right-of-way acquired by July 1st. We can get the contractor going this fall on the building of this ramp. The project on 271, the third lane, is actually like a 2.5 season project, meaning it's going to go the last half of 14 into 15 and then 16 and be completed the fall of 16. What we were going to do is to put what we call an interim completion dates on some of the work, and the work at the ramps. This ramp in 82 is going to be in the first year. Now possibly 82 might not be done in the first year because we have a lot of bridge work to do here that things are in the way. But from this point north, we were going to put interim completion dates on. And in order to determine those, we need to know when the right-of-way is acquired. But getting back to my point about funding, this project will be open for bids in May. If we don't have funding commitment from the city and the right-of-way acquisition in process, I can't put this work into that project. And I have to put this work into that project no later than probably beginning to mid-March. So any kind of delays from the city or on this right-of-way acquisition is going to endanger the ability to get this work into that project. So a month delay puts us back a month on our environmental process. And somebody had mentioned a meeting on January 7th. That is a public involvement meeting concern. It's required for the NEPA process for public comment, but we can't hold that meeting on January 7th if it's not passed this evening. There's a 21-day notice period and then advertisement in the newspaper and on websites and those kinds of things. And until we get a commitment from the city to proceed with the right-of-way, we can't hold that meeting. So if you push this to, I think you said January 9th was your next meeting, we wouldn't be able to hold that meeting until probably, I think, the first week in February, which then endangers the entire project of getting this included with our major third lane project. And if we don't get it in that project, we don't have any funding for this.
Who owns the vacated entrance ramp that you're not going to use?
ODOT will retain that.
All right, what are they going to do with it?
It will be turned into grass and just an area, open area.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I think the right-of-way acquisition, as Tom's alluded to, obviously when we acquire right-of-way for our projects, usually we don't allow any less than 6 months for even the smallest of projects, just because the right-of-way acquisition usually takes time. I think you're filing the project. It's been filed, so we have until, you were saying, maybe July.
In order to get this work as part of that project, I have, and I'm sure not everybody's going to follow this, I have to file what's called an addendum to our scope of services. I'll mention that this particular project, the third lane project, is not a standard project where we design plans and then put it out for bid. It's what we call a design build project. We're putting out a scope of services detailing what we want done, and then the contractor has a design consultant on staff that actually does the design work.
You're going to have that in by March?
That's already, the third lane with all the bridge work is already in our central office getting ready for sale. And what I'll have to do is add this other work by what we call an addendum. After the contractors start processing their bids and start determining what the bids are, we file an addendum to the contract, and then they get this, and then they have to include that with it. So we're kind of, that's why I'm thinking behind, we need to get everything in.
I guess that's what I'm alluding to with the right-of-way acquisition. The sooner the city knows that they're going to need to acquire this property to do the relocation of this ramp, the sooner they can get started on acquiring the necessary right-of-way for it, to get into the plan. Any delays is just going to be detrimental to it, not detrimental, but it
And it's a three,
No.
we have 3 readings, okay, and so nobody knows how the rest of all those council are gonna vote here tonight. And, with new council taking place and everything, I really, to me, I just, myself, I think this is a wonderful project, and I wanna see it move the freeway over there, the ramp, just so everybody knows that. But as far as the new council taking the seats here coming next year, and with our financial, Mr. Engel being on here tonight, he has asked that this be held at first reading, and so has another member that is gonna be taking a seat, that it be held. And I just feel that we only got this an hour ago. We've never sat down with council. ODOT hasn't. He sat down with the administration and everybody else. Now you come to us.
I just want to add that Tom and Chris are here at our request. It's a courtesy that they came to.
I just assume.
And here's the emails from November 26th and 27th, going to
The
council.
legislation just got here Tuesday. We just received legislation on Tuesday, Mr. Mayor. We've received emails that's just been off. Legislation was given to us on
understand.
Tuesday, and by law, it's 3 readings.
I understand.
And you guys should have known that coming into this.
No, that's really,
May I ask the most important question, Scott? If we were to do this and assume the work that it would go for the full 500,000 through SID, what does that do to our budget?
If we take out a SIP loan and eventually have to roll the note, I mean, it's gonna be about 50,000 a year probably.
Where does that put us financially? I mean, you know kind of where we're at, what did you say, about 3.8 unencumbered, correct?
Yes.
Not that we want to spend all that, but where would that put us going forward?
Again, if they might curtail a capital project that, whether it was a street or something else, but again, with revenue that comes up to the natural bump that we've been getting on our income tax, it's hard to say. It's a manageable project financially, I think, for the amount of money that ODOT and Turnpike Commission is gonna put into it, in my opinion, I think it's a win for the long-term financial infrastructure of the city.
Let me ask the most basic, simple question. Can we afford it?
Yes.
well, right off the bat, Scott, South Bedford Road came in under budget. By how much?
Well, we actually had $180,000 from the license plate tax that we took from